Hey, buddy, it's been a minute. Hi.
Why are you so close to your microphone? What the hell was that?
Because I want to get really intimate with you because it's like, you know, sometimes.
Well, then don't talk in a normal voice, you goober. Blow out everybody's ears.
I'll fix that in post, or maybe I won't. Hey, Fred, welcome back. Nice
Hello.
to see you. It's been a minute.
It's been 5 weeks, I believe.
I think that's accurate. I think that we've both been traveling the world, but never in the same place. But now we're back in Los Angeles, and instead of getting lunch, this is just the way that we catch up and say hi.
Yeah, that's Hollywood's version of catching up, is doing a podcast together. That sounds about right, actually. Yeah.
Do you want to get martinis? No? Okay, well, we can just record a podcast. It's basically the same thing. People can listen to our conversation. I don't even where to begin. It's been 5 weeks. There's so much DOTA stuff. There's so much tournament stuff. There's so much I was in Japan for a month stuff. You were in Berlin for 2 weeks stuff.
Let's start with Japan.
Give me one.
How was your trip in Japan? How was all the matcha that you had?
I think I realize why people like to travel to Japan. I think I realize why it is a big tourist destination. I think I realize why they're so welcoming of tourism, why there's an industry built around it. I think I understand people are excited about it. I think the best way to describe it is that I don't often get overwhelmed at all. I think that my emotions are pretty mid, and sometimes I get excited, but I really seldomly feel overwhelmed, right? When I was in Japan, I just felt excited because I was overwhelmed with stuff. Like the culture and the food and the transport and the people and the city and the stores and the everything. I was just overwhelmed in a really positive way that made me smile all the time. I got to spend 2 weeks. I was mostly in Osaka and Tokyo, and I was there for work. We had a bunch of Smash events that were happening during Golden Week because Ultimate is really big in Japan, and there's a bunch of really cool grassroots tournament organizers there. So we brought our Smash players, and then we filmed a bunch of content with them. We did a podcast with Daigo. We did some vlogs. We filmed some Alienware commercials in Japan. We went there and we did 9 different things in the span of a week, which is how I justified going over there myself. And then proceeded to also do everything that we wanted to do in those cities, which was really super rad. Some of the travel was a little bit rough, not because the travel was rough, but because I ended up having to be the talent manager for Hungrybox and some of our players. They missed flights. They didn't know where they were going. They didn't know where their hotel was. So I spent a week and a half being a talent manager, which is a role that I've never done in esports before, or really in general, right? I've never just kind of been responsible for what I can essentially call having children. And I think that it is actually that week of my life of having to cart people around and them be like, oh, I didn't know how to get my visa, or I didn't bring any cash to Japan, a big cash society, or oh man, none of my debit cards work. I can't use an ATM. Can you pay for my train ticket? The amount of that I dealt with was a little bit frustrating, but it actually reinforced that I don't know if I want to have children to be responsible for other people.
Yeah.
In a really real way. Because it felt like I had teenagers, Austin. It felt like I was a father of 2 teenagers and then 3 employees for weeks.
Yeah, how many players were you responsible for?
So to be clear, in case John Lewis or anybody who listens to this, I wasn't responsible for them the whole time, but
sure.
There were 3 players who were there. We have 4 players who were there because we actually have a Smash player from Japan. His name's Atelier, which is French, which is confusing, but whatever. So there's a player in Japan who didn't really need much babysitting, but then we brought 3 people, Riddles, DeBuzz, and Hungrybox with us. Yeah,
that esports players are stunted adults. I'll just put it that way.
Most of them, 90% of them are.
are stunted adults because they went from being a very likely shut-in gamer who either succeeded during high school or during college, probably have never had a full-time job, and get directly put into a environment where when you go places, people book your flights, they give you food every day, all 3 meals are prepared for you, like you don't have to do anything. So they remain in that bubble potentially for years and years, potentially a decade of being in a bubble where everything is taken care of for you. And yeah, that's so they just end up becoming stunted adults where they don't know how to do the normal adult things to do. They don't know how to take responsibility for things because their responsibility is playing a video game really well, and all of their needs are somebody else's responsibility, which is what you are as a child. Is your needs are the responsibility of your parents, and you just kind of continue that as an esports player because now your needs are the responsibility of your manager.
Yeah, so that happened, and I feel fine about it, but not what I expected, especially in a place where like I'm also like. My strategy for learning Japanese was to basically know how to say 10 important things.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
which is actually, that needs to be my strategy now anytime I travel to a foreign country that I don't know the language, because I got on so much better just being able to, say excuse me and sorry and ask for water and do all those basic things, right?
What were the 10 things?
Excuse me, sorry.
No.
No. You can't.
I'm putting you on a test here. You just spent 2 weeks in Japan.
Okay. Arigato gozaimasu. It's very, very important. Just say that all the time.
That's thank you.
Yes, it's like thank you. Sumimasen is excuse me. Mizu kudasai is can I have water, please? Toilet. Rikai dekimasen is I don't understand. Igo o hanasemasu is do you speak English? Nihongo wo wakarimasen is I don't speak Japanese. And that's the majority of what I was saying. And then like, hi, EA, Ichi.
Sure.
That
was pretty good.
I feel sweaty.
That was 10. Yeah, good job.
But so my brain, I don't know if you've ever experienced this before. I constantly wanted to speak Spanish, a language that, let's be really clear, I don't speak. I speak Spanish like a 2-year-old. I barely got by in Lima at Mexico, and had a lot of questions. But my brain, instead of saying all the Japanese things I was learning, just responded to people 1 out of every 30 times in Spanish, which is less helpful than trying to speak English, and really confusing. And then when I got back on Wednesday, I was at Ralph's and I said excuse me to somebody in Japanese, which also makes no sense. I look like a fucking idiot. So
it's probably because you're probably not a true bilingual. So your brain just kind of like sections off other languages all in the same probable area, And so it's just like, I need to say something in other language. And, your brain just reaches into that box and pulls it out, That's what I assume, because I have heard that before. I haven't experienced it, no, but I've heard many other people experience that, yeah.
Some quick Japanese highlights. You mentioned matcha. I did have a matcha every single day.
Yes, I saw your list.
There was a lady in Tokyo in Asakusa who had like her own little matcha stand, and she ranked the levels of matcha. It was like 1 through 8, and every level she has put more matcha in her latte, and she had my favorite matcha. But you couldn't order a level 8 until you've had a level 7, and she gave you like a little like ticket that said, I I trust you to order a level 8. You can handle it because it's so much, right? So on my second to last day there, I actually extended my trip 2 days because I was having so much fun, and Delta gave me like $200 refunded to like take a later flight. It was really dope.
Wow.
I went back and I ordered a level 8, and it felt like I snorted Adderall because there was so much caffeine in me.
Okay, I've had matcha stuff before. I can't say it's ever struck me as something that I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to dedicate every day for 2 weeks straight to getting something in that regard. What is really strong matcha like? Because I feel like I probably have never had that.
So everybody who I gave it to, it's like increasing the bitterness level because you're just adding more of the ingredient, right? Like you're just making it stronger and like denser. So it is like way more bitter and way more caffeinated. And I like bitter quite a bit. So I'm in for more matcha because I like the base flavor. And if you just add more flavor, it gets better for me. When I make matcha at home, I like triple dose it. Or like when I go to Starbucks, I normally put in like 4 scoops. I'll be like, can I have 8? So, but dude, that was really rough. I stayed in the Capsule Hotel for a night when I extended my trip because I thought, oh man, this is gonna be so much fun. Like, I mean, it's like a hostel. It's like $30. It'll be really cheap, and it was miserable because I learned as soon as I got to the Capsule Hotel that they are not temperature regulated or controlled at all. So I was
that's very important when you're in a little capsule. What the fuck?
Ooh, dude. So this capsule, they actually did like a sleep analysis report on you. So there's like infrared cameras watching you the whole time and like speakers to like see how much you like turn over and snore and if you stop breathing. So I'm like, oh, this is so much cool. I'm gonna get like sleep data. And then really all that happened was I was laying there in my underwear on like a 1-inch padded mattress on the hardest pillow I've ever slept in my entire life, in a warm coffin, which wasn't awesome. The next day I checked out and I went to a hotel. It was so bad.
I can't believe you stayed there. I would have left.
I got there so late that like trying to rebook a hotel at like 11 p.m. I was like, I paid for this. I'm in for it. I'm gonna suffer through one night. It'll be a story I can tell somebody. But like that experience, not great.
Great story. I slept in a coffin. It was really bad.
I'm just here to tell anybody who has romanticized the idea of a capsule hotel because I think it caught me because it is cool. I think. Just see if yours has an air. There's not even an air vent. I don't mean it's not air conditioned or heated. I mean there is no circulating air inside. In addition to being hot, there's not even like one of those little airplane like twisty give a little vent out situations. That's bad, man. I watched a Laker game in a sports bar, which there aren't many of in Japan, and they were really excited that I was from Los Angeles, and people were ordering shots for the entire bar at like 8-9 in the morning. So I go meet up.
Nice.
I go meet up with my friends after the Laker game, and they're like, "Joey, you're kind of red. It's like 11 a.m." I'm like, "Yeah, someone ordered me like 4 shots." So that day sucked. I walked like,
and you watched them lose.
No, that was actually them beating. They're gonna lose to the Nuggets probably. It's like 0-3, but like that. This was when they were beating
right. This was 2 weeks ago. Sorry.
Yeah, this was a week ago when they just beat the Warriors. This was the final game of the Warriors.
Right.
I helped a kid with his English homework on the train. He came up to me, was really cute. He's like, "Do you speak English?" And I said, "Yes." "How did you know?" He's
White
like,
man.
"Can you help me with your?" Yes. "Can you help me with my spelling homework?" And I would flush because anybody who's seen me type anything or communicate with me knows that it's like not really a strong suit, something I put a lot of work into. But I just helped the kid cheat.
I hope you got something wrong. I hope you spelled something wrong.
Just to make it look more real.
Like, no, I had a white man spell this for me. You know, English is his primary language. He can't possibly be wrong.
I went to some onsens with friends, which was fun and definitely not an HR problem. Like an onsen, like get naked, have a bath. hot spring.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. We all saw each other's peepees, you know? That was fun.
Cool.
And mildly traumatizing.
You know, every LAN event, Blitz has started a sauna crew. Mm-hmm. Yeah, various players from various teams all to get together in a sauna. But of course, it's esports players, so nobody takes off their underwear.
Yeah.
Nobody feels comfortable being naked around each other.
I don't believe Tofu's definitely a go naked person.
I'm sure he is, but for example, like I also wear underwear. Like I go to saunas and I'm fine with being naked, but in that situation, right, where everybody else is wearing, I'm like, well, I'm gonna make everybody else feel awkward.
Exactly.
If I'm the one naked. So, I wore underwear too, I only did it once. It was just because I was on a workout fiend right there. You
got to match the vibe of the room, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And the vibe of Japan was everybody was just very naked. Ate a lot of really good ramen, ate a lot of really good udon. I have recommendations for people if they ever want them to go to Tokyo soon. But yeah, I really liked Japan. I'm gonna try and go back during the winter season because I want to go snowboarding there. That's my next goal. Hit some half pipes before my back gives out forever.
Okay, but I hear this all the time that people go to Japan for snowboarding, but there's no way the snowboarding is better than all the other places you could go for snowboarding.
So, okay, you have a little bit of a point. Because Mammoth Mountain, which we are 5 hours away from, is truly one of the best mountains in the world. And you could also just go to Colorado or Utah and Mammoth is like widely regarded as being phenomenal.
I swear to God, I think I went to Mammoth and I had a miserable time.
What? Dude, we're gonna go to Mammoth. I will get you in my car and we will go.
I mean, like, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. There's like lots of mountains over there, and they were all nicer and less icy and lots of things. It's all man-made snow and shit.
There's a lot of snow in Japan in the right regions. I want to go hang out in Hokkaido. It's both that I want to be there, and snowboarding is a good excuse to be there. And I think, they do have a lot of mountains. They have a lot of mountains that also are like skate parky. For snowboarders, and I dabble in some jumps and boxes and tubes, so
I do not. I like going fast, and I like lots of powder, so when I go really fast, I can throw powder all over the place. And when I crash, I don't die. That's also that's a little bonus as well.
I mean, this is definitely 5 years ago in his 20s, Joey speaking, but your boy likes to hit some boxes and rails. I might feel differently about that every day that passes.
Yeah, you're gonna feel real differently about it when you're snowboarding in your soon-to-be 30s, and when you hit the ground, your body does not react the same way as it used to.
And I go, ooh, how do hospitals in Japan work? Oh me, oh my.
Instead of the next day just being like kind of shrugging it off, and the next day you can't get out of bed, you're like, oh god, what have I done?
Man, I did the weeb shit in Akihabara. We went to like a host cafe accidentally that was S&M themed accidentally.
Oh, another HR incident. I see.
Also with coworkers, funny enough. So I guess I understand why people romanticize it and have a lot of fun when they go there, because there is just so much stuff to do, and if you're cool with it, like it is definitely a lot of fun, and your money can kind of go far, especially right now.
That's cool. Well, all in all, trip success. I would say.
Yeah, not only did I get a work trip and grift a vacation off of it, it feels like I actually took a vacation, which it's been, I think the last time that it actually felt like I took a vacation was TI, so it's probably been.
Did you get to come back and not work for a couple days because you're like, man, I just worked for 2 weeks, guys?
So because I extended the trip, I actually ate into the days that I had booked out as recovery days and just spent them in Japan, but I'm convinced that jet lag isn't real, so I just got back and just hit the ground running, no problem.
Sure. That's because you were traveling east to west. Well, actually, I guess you were going west to east, just on the other side of the international date line.
It's I have completely ruined my sleep schedule and most things about my life though for the last 4 days because I went to the Nintendo store on Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom release day, and that was really because it was like in Japan and it was at the Nintendo store and the game was coming out, so like, you know,
my first thought is just like, that sounds like a lot of people for a thing that I could just get online.
Yeah, but they had like exclusive stuff, so I got some of it and brought it back as gifts. I'm gonna resell some of it, but like, you know.
There it is, money.
Stop. But that game has ruined. I forced myself to not play it until I got on the airplane on the way back, which I played the entire 10 hours home, and I've been basically cramming into every ounce and moment of my life that I could for the last 4 or 5 days. I'm
saving that for all my trips coming up. I haven't touched it yet.
You'll have a great time. You'll have a great time. It'll be like a casual stream game if you want it, like post trips. You'll be chilling. A lot of fun.
All right. Is it DOTA time?
Is it DOTA time? Yeah. I
went to our DOTA 2.
And
we went to top, and instead of this week, I did this month, which doesn't even cover how long it's been.
Woo!
So the top posts are Eternal Envy, retiring from Dota.
I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care. Sumail, playing on a Chinese team, both for someone in Germany and now actually full time on the team.
It looks like they're doing well.
Yeah.
It looks like it's good PR for everybody. Sumail looks like he's smiling for the first time in 8 months. Like, those all sound like wins.
I mean, I think Sumail has had some serious ups and downs in his career. And I think that the downs help him probably realize that he's got to like appreciate where he's at and respect that it's not as easy as it was when he was 16, He wasn't levels. He's no longer levels above everyone else, So you aren't just like a de facto like show up and like, hey, I want to be on this team and everybody will make room for you. That's not the way Dota is anymore. There are way too many good teams and everybody's skill level is like within striking distance of each other. And the difference is made up in, the hard work and team synergy and all those buzzwords that go into it. So it's no longer one kid showing up and just dominating everybody and carrying 4 other dudes. Can't do that anymore.
Astra's kind of been my Chinese team for a minute. I think that it's fun having Sumail over there. I think they will be moderately successful. I still don't fully understand the problems that come with the language barrier there. Like, does Sumail just work to learn some more Mandarin? Does he just play
one thing
muted?
about that team that is very interesting to see whether or not it works is not, for me, the language barrier, which, we've had situations like that before. It's actually the fact that Azure seems to just like, and maybe it's the Chinese team as a whole, they seem to be like stumbling over themselves to give Sumail whatever he wants to be comfortable. And I think that you would not be able to find that kind of treatment for most tier 1 teams out there. And we'll see whether or not that's a good thing or not, right? Astra's playing entirely around Sumail, right? Like, their supports are just doing whatever Sumail needs to succeed. Like, they think this guy is God's gift to Dota, and they want to enable him as much as possible. And we'll see whether or not that is a formula for success. I mean, I think the clear goal helps make things like easy in some regard. And I think it'll be super interesting to see whether or not this fits on like an international stage. So yeah, I think it'll be pretty interesting because I think most teams are a little bit more complicated than that. And, maybe I'm oversimplifying the Aster situation. I don't know. I'm not on that team. But from the outside looking in, it seems like the most... This is the team that has the one factor in it, and everything else is built up around that, and that's Sumail. That's the way I look at that team.
They're 4-0. They haven't dropped a game yet, so.
I mean, well, listen. Chinese DPC don't mean shit. Let's be real. This ain't 5 years ago. China don't mean shit right now. So they could go 7-0. I would still be holding my breath. I would still be waiting to see what's going to happen on international competition, both for this major and TI. I think this major is also a weird one because there are some teams who, the top-rated teams, Gaming Gladiators, Team Liquid, they are already qualified for TI. So it's hard, and there's going to be more teams that are going to be qualified for TI based off of their regional DPC points. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the best teams in the world don't really have motivation to do well at the last major. So I'm not even sure if that competition is really going to be able to suss out people too much. Really just TI.
Do you think that's healthy? A team, but we specifically talked about that. You called it the two that are definitely going to TI, and probably the two that have been the most dominant all year.
Talon is also going to be in there because I think they're likely to get first in C, and then they get another 500 points. That'll probably put them in 100% guaranteed territory. Do I think that's healthy? I think it is acceptable. I think sometimes you do need to give reassurances to teams and make sure that teams that do well over the year are guaranteed to go to the World Championship. Now, whether or not that World Championship should be the be-all, end-all of your entire esports scene and nothing else really matters, that part we've talked at length multiple times. I think it creates a lot of problems.
I mean more so the idea of potentially taking your foot off the gas for the last season to kind of ease up your month or two before TI. Do you think
for
that
your
is a healthy
success
mentality?
as a team? Yes, I do think it's important because we've seen enough of these teams and players, and especially the veteran ones. How many times have they kind of phoned it in for the first 6 months of the year? We hear so many interviews where they talk about it it's a slog, that they get really burnt out. They play so much Dota that they go to these events, they come back, they just don't want to scrim or anything like that anymore. You want to be a team that is on the rise and is feeling good and enjoying playing when you go into TI, which is a very stressful event. I don't think you want to be burnt out. So the OG formula, that was definitely part of their TI9 run. I think you could look at some other teams like Secret. You can look at other dominant teams over the year that tend to have fail at TI. Virtus Pro is a great example of that, right? That probably is not to do with burnout, but I'm more so thinking of the 2017 Virtus Pro, that VP who was dominating throughout the year. Who knows if burnout was a factor for them. The current Virtus Pro, I think they're just, I don't know. I think there's just maybe some personality problems or something going on there.
We're seeing something incredibly similar to that VP or that Secret year with Gaimin right now. They're just winning everything, right? So it'll be interesting to see if that kind of carries through, if they change something, if they are also a team that, wins all the majors and then kind of putters out at TI, or if they're just that good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, sorry, I just had some big news. I just glanced at my Twitter timeline and then I just saw something that popped up and I was just all right, that's now in my head. Sorry, I don't know if it's something we want to talk about on the podcast, but either way, what were you talking about?
The idea that you talk about the Secret year, you talk about the VP or where they dominate an entire calendar and then just falter TI. But the Gaming Gladiators is setting themselves up for a very similar arc, and we'll see, can they carry through and convert in TI season? Does taking a little break and maybe trying less hard season 3 help them? or are they the team that can just win everything all year long? Like, it'll be interesting to see that narrative compared to similar dominating years of teams past.
Yeah, I think there are some differences where there's not a whole lot of veterans to tier 1 success. Maybe some of those players have been around for a while, but they haven't experienced the kind of success they're experiencing now. And that can maybe be very intoxicating. And I think they're, generally speaking, like a pretty young, hardworking squad. Very motivated. I don't think motivation is going to be as big of an issue with maybe some of those rosters in the past, but there is still the problem. Like there are two separate problems, right? It's the motivation aspect, but it's also the burnout aspect, but it's also the just being figured out as a team, right? Like you see them be successful so often, you get studied so much.
Everyone preps for them for TI, right? Like everybody looks at their VODs and see what they're doing.
Sure. Yeah. Now, there is some aspect of it. Sometimes teams just do something so well that you can't necessarily counter it. So I think that they are, if I had to guess, I don't think they're going to be shut down pre-top 8. I think they're probably going to be a top 8 team. They may not win TI. And maybe that's where that factor of like being so well known for what you do becomes a factor. But I think they're still like good enough at what they do that I'm going to assume they make top 8 at TI, if not much better.
I'm interested to see if they continue to carry their momentum into Bali even.
Yeah.
It really is all eyes on them.
Yeah, I don't know what their attitude is going to be about Bali either. Obviously, they did very well at ESL Berlin, which I don't think we even talked about. At this point, it's pretty old news.
It is. What would even be like if you did 30 seconds on ESL Berlin for the people who are like, oh man, they weren't around to talk about it? What would you even say? I would say 9 Pandas impressed me, and the lower bracket run for Liquid made me happy to see them deal with adversity well, because I think that's important. And
they just keep on doing lower bracket runs all the time, you know?
And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think EG was another standout. I mean, they got top 4 at a Valve event. People kept on pointing to the ESL Birmingham. That was when we had like tons of minors and majors. I don't count that one. They got like top 4 because top 4 was like it was like Chaos Esports, or it was the South American Chaos, I think, or something like that. Anyway, they got top 4, and if I remember correctly, that was like a group stage deal that ended in a 4-team playoff, and they got 4th. If I'm remembering that correctly, I think that's how that went.
That feels like it should barely count.
Yeah, I mean, I just, for a major, I don't know. That was just a weird period of time. Yeah, they got 3rd off of beating Mineski. It was a 4-team playoff. They beat Mineski and then lost to Virtus Pro. And then had a 3rd place match, one of the few 3rd place matches in Dota history, against Fnatic. And ended up beating Fnatic to be able to get 3rd.
It feels like
it's a 16 playoff. Oh, that's what it is. So 2 teams were slotted into semifinals and then 4 teams in the quarterfinals. That's how it works.
The Counter-Strike formula.
Yeah, exactly. They were trying to follow Counter-Strike at that time. But yeah, I would say Dream League and Berlin were good events for me personally. Pretty interesting.
Did you feel like you did good work?
Extremely smooth event.
Like, were you happy with the work you did casting wise?
Yeah, it was okay. I didn't work the last day, which I always hate. But that was because Avery had a life event that we already knew about beforehand, so he wouldn't be there for the last day. So, but yeah, it was a long haul from Dream League to Berlin. We got a lot of reps in for casting, and I think we have hit a pretty good stride. Now we're doing Southeast Asia, and then we're going to go back to Dream League, and then probably the Bali Major. And then if we do that, then maybe we're going to Riyadh as well. Not all of those things are actually set in stone just yet, but that is likely the trajectory of my travel. It's not great. Europe, Southeast Asia, Middle East, and then back to LA.
And then back to LA probably a couple times in between. It's funny how we were talking about,
No, it's all one trip. These are all back-to-back events.
Oh, you're going to need places to do laundry. A lot of laundry.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pack your favorite shirts and use them a lot. It's funny how we were talking about, not more than a couple months ago, how you were looking at your calendar for the year and being like, oh, shit, there's not much on here. And now we're having a conversation of like, I think I have to go to 3 events back to back to back. I can't come home.
Yeah, I mean, that was before Dream League was announced. And even though I kind of knew Dream League was a thing, if it was the DPC problem, right? If I didn't work the DPC, then it's also I worked with ePulse. I work with ePulse for the DPC, and then they were also the ones to invite me to Lima as well. So it's possible that work relationship turned into me doing the major as well. So, these things are all very, I think very dependent. You just never really have any security of what you're going to get and what you don't.
You touched on Dream League for a second, and I have one Dream League question. Did you like the format that was implemented, where you had it was 2 groups in the initial group stage, where 2 groups of 8, bottom 4 from each group were eliminated, and the upper 4 made a second group stage group of 8, where again the bottom 4 were eliminated. So just a lot of group elimination, and that first group stage was best of 2s. Do you think that was a good experience from the teams? Did you hear anybody complaining about that? It was good for the viewership. Like,
things that I don't like about the Dream League format. I don't know, the invitation system seems really freaking weird. First place gets a guaranteed to Riyadh, and then first and second for the second season, or maybe first, second, and third. But then there's still like 14 other teams to figure out or something like that. So if you're going to Dream League, you're probably going to Riyadh.
Yeah.
So like the prize isn't like the prize is the money, but like the whole Riyadh guaranteed invite, like, again, if you're invited to Dream League, you're one of the best teams in the world, so therefore you're probably going to Riyadh. Like that, it's like 90% of the teams are already going to that event. So
not even that. Like, even if you look at second place, like, they're not going to not invite Liquid. If Gaming got second, they're not going to not invite Gaming. They're not going to not invite Shopify or EG or Tundra or OG, right?
Yeah.
Like, all of these teams are going and should feel secure about going. And then what was the prize pool beyond that? Like, I guess the difference between first and second place was $100,000.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of money overall, right? Wasn't it like $500,000?
$1 million among 16 participants.
Yeah, and $500,000 for first place, or
$300,000.
$300,000. Okay.
300, 175, 120, 85.
Sorry, I guess the Valve model in my head of TI, where the first place gets 50% of the prize pool. Yeah, I think the double group stage was interesting, but I liked it as a Dota fan. I do think it kills some of the hype of Dota. Like, you have that much Dota, and then you go straight into the major, right? That part is not that great because you just grind so much Dota that you have really, really narrowed down who the absolute best teams are. And then you go into the major event and say, okay, let's do it again. When you're like, wow, but we already know who the absolute best teams are right now. And that's why we saw the same teams at the grand finals, right? And I think that's going to be a problem again for Bali. I do think if I was doing a major, I'd be like, man, this Dream League thing kind of like takes a bit of wind out of our sails, and in that regard. But I think it's overall positive, and it's just the double group stage and how many games that kind of impacts your feelings of going into the major. Because then once you finish up the major, you start the DPC, and then you're just kind of like, whatever.
The results were also nearly the same. Like the teams that were getting top 8 in Dream League were the same teams that were getting top 8, and that's into that second group stage, with the exception of like TSM did better at Dream League than ESL, but basically all of the same teams were the ones you were seeing play against each other time and time again.
Yep. So the only thing that actually made it like, I think that's going to be a bigger problem for Bali because of the fact that you don't have the new patch, right? The new patch hit in the middle of Dream League. So people were still kind of figuring it out for the major, right? So we would still have maybe some swerves happening in that regard. There was still higher variance, I guess, in teams' playing capability on the new patch.
Yeah. The events were essentially on 2 different games of Dota.
Yeah. So, yeah. What else?
I mean, the patch, right? How much? How much Dota have you actually been playing over the last month?
I played a good amount. In fact, I won 7 games in a row yesterday. I woke up, started playing Dota, and all I could do was just win.
No matter
I kept
what.
the same playlist going. I was like, I'm getting tired of this playlist. And then I realized I'd only won. I was like, well, better not change things up. I mean, got something good going on. I played a good amount of the patch. I think it's kind of whatever. I think that is prone to happen, to be clear. I think that is prone to happen whenever you have a really big patch. It does. There are things that probably need to be smoothed out, and that's fine.
There's things you were asking for, right, though? Like, you got some of the things on your wish list, like the map changed.
The map changed, yes. The map got much bigger. Like Dota fans are always going to complain. I'm going to do some complaining here. I do think that some of the changes were not entirely well thought out when it came to the map changes, at least from my perspective. I'm sure that like they actually did put in the time and thought into it. And sometimes you have a theory, and that theory doesn't actually play out in reality, right? When you get thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of people playing tens and thousands of games, it's like, things are going to end up a little bit different. But I do think that the patch is getting more interesting to watch over time, I think, as we narrow down some of the swings. I think right now, one of the things that they did that I'm not a massive fan of is the wisdom runes that they put into the game to replace the tomes of experience. That was okay, but it created yet another objective on the map, which this has been memed to death, but there are constant timings, right? It's like
3 minutes here, 7 minutes here, 5 minutes here,
7 minutes. Yeah, it's like constant, right? You like the ultimate timing is 42 minutes. You know what happens at 42 minutes, Joey?
Do you get like wisdom runes and then a good respawn on a tormentor and like
yes, wisdom rune. Very likely the 4th tormentor is going to be spawning around that time. Decent chance that Roshan tends to happen around like 20 minutes. So you're probably expecting it to be usually 20, 30, 40 around that area. Power runes have just spawned. Bounty runes have just spawned. I believe the flowers have just refreshed. It's just like literally there are so many things, and maybe there is. I like decision path trees when it comes to Dota. That's why I'm a big fan of the neutral item change, being able to choose which 5 items you want for yourself. I think that's cool. But right now, it feels like a lot of these objectives are mandatory. Like the Wisdom Rune was already kind of important, but now they doubled up the Wisdom Rune, so it's twice as much experience. Which now means that if you have your Wisdom Rune stolen, your game is so fucked. It is so bad. Like they tried to buff up the experience for supports because supports are getting really underleveled. Like it would be like 14 minutes in and some supports still weren't level 6. And they're like, okay, we'll just double the Wisdom Rune experience. And now it's like the single most important objective in the game. And if you lose, like, let's say you lose your 7 and 14 minute Wisdom Rune, I think your chances of winning the game are like 15%. Almost no matter what your lineup is, because
I'm sure someone's done math on that, right?
yeah, like you just don't like the enemy supports are level 7 and 8, and you're level 5. Like the impact in team fights and what you can do around the map is massive. So I felt like that was a very blunt change that they made in the patch that did not feel very I don't know. It was just you just took a fucking big fucking patch stick and just whacked the fucking patch on the head. You know, like that was.
Is that from the latest
not
letter
the most
update?
beautiful change I've ever seen in the world.
Is that change from the latest letter update? Like, is that from C or D?
Yeah, that's
or what we're on?
733C, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I haven't played A, B, or C yet, but when 3.3 came out, I played more Dota in the span of a week than I have in like 18 months. I was fiending pretty hard in a way that I was like, oh no, maybe this is why I slowed down on playing, because I'm like not taking a shower and not like attending to other life needs. I'm missing meals, and I fully felt like I got back to a decade ago, where I just wanted to sit there and like learn stuff and test stuff and twiddle with stuff and press the Q button immediately after it finished. And the only reason I stopped doing that is because I got on a plane and left the country. And the only reason I'm not doing it right now is because I'm trying to stop myself, and also I'm playing a ton of Zelda. And when I stop, I might go back to just pounding the Q button and trying to play more games Dota with my friends, because I really caught the bug, and I think that the changes were so drastic, it both got me excited to play and also made me feel like I needed to play to understand what was going to be going on with like analysis of watching competitive games. So
yeah, I know a lot of people started playing Dota for the first time again when they hadn't for years. So it does go to show that like these big patch changes, they do have an impact. Maybe I don't know, maybe the numbers just aren't there, but I feel like from all the people that I've heard talk about like, oh man, I'm playing Dota again when I've never played it in years and years and years because of this big change. Like I would be incentivized as Valve to like, okay, like big change kind of like every year, but maybe the actual numbers behind it don't actually support that theory.
Yeah, who really knows? And I don't know if it was like a year that every year this happened consistently. I don't know if I would like tire on that, but it definitely, again, like I really caught the bug, and I was spamming completely different heroes almost every game. I think I played like 24 games on 20 different heroes, just to kind of see changes and have fun and experiment and see what was good. Yeah. So
I think there are some general fallouts from increasing the map change. That this is the part that I feel like maybe wasn't the clearest way thought out, is that maybe this was just a reaction because the mid lane was so important in previous patches, but they made the side lane so important because all of the objectives are on the side lanes: Roshan, Wisdom Runes, the portals, the flowers. These are all on the sides of the map. So I think they completely changed that aspect of the game. And maybe they were going for a stronger shift and then scale it back from here. But I do feel like they overemphasize the side lane importance, because there are also all these neutral camps and they're all in the side lanes. They're not in the middle of the map. The middle of the map feels like a dead zone to me most of the time. And so I feel like that was too much. And I think also when you make the map bigger, wards. What about wards? What about smokes? What about your natural like moving around the map and understanding map positions of the enemy team? That's going to change when you make the map 20% larger, and they didn't do anything to help correct that in any way.
They added those, neutral objective wards, which definitely provide vision and don't cost money.
I think they're kind of whatever. Maybe they thought they were going to be more impactful than they actually are, but I think most of the time they are. You click on them because they're there. You see it and you're like, I'll click on that. But it feels like dewarding is incredibly hard. You have no idea where people's wards are because the map is 20% bigger, and you have no idea what kind of vision they're trying to get on you because it's super hard to get vision on people in general. So smokes are much less effective. I will give them credit, they did the 5 or 15 bonus movement speed at night. So maybe that was supposed to help with that concept of being able to get around the map with these smokes better. But I do just generally think that like smokes and wards are far less effective. Dewarding is much less of a thing. I see people just kind of all the time just kind of play the game right now and just not really almost like even try and deward. Maybe you deward an area when you're like before you're gonna smoke, but otherwise it's just like I don't know where their vision is, so I'm not really gonna try. So unless you have a Slark or a gem, then you just kind of like give up on the vision game. Maybe as we figure out the map more, it'll become more clear, but I still think that like the 20% map makes it much harder. So I would have, maybe this is just too blunt of a change, but I expected like if you're going to do something like that, then wouldn't you make wards and dewards more common, maybe cheaper, or
bigger radius?
Yeah, the radius is another factor or something like that. Like Ice Frog tends for very elegant changes when it comes to these sort of things. He doesn't go for the straightforward, That's why the big fucking double wisdom rune threw me for a fucking loop. Because I feel like a lot of times he tries to... Yeah, he tries to hit it from some other angle, It's like, oh, this hero's doing too much damage. Well, I'm going to hit him on the cooldowns, And then like that actually, works. It actually does nerf the hero, but still makes him feel strong when he needs to feel strong. That's just an example of like a roundabout change. He doesn't just like, oh, do much damage, we'll take away the damage,
So, admittedly, I haven't played in like a month or close to that in this point since I've been gone, but my initial games that I was playing with the bigger map, I was actually having some real problems with farming patterns on like position 1, position 2 heroes, and consistently feeling like I was not getting enough CS. Because I was either like in the wrong spot because the map was so big that I was really far away from fights if I wasn't a hero that could like get to a fight, which is why I played a couple Spectre games, because I'm like, I guess I can just hunt in and that's probably good because I want to be farming. But I felt consistently like I was not farming well enough. And I think that the solve for that is probably just to go like watch some high level games and see what people are like doing farming wise. And
go up and down the side lanes. Go up and down the side lanes. Also, the double ancients, they're next to each other. So once you're strong enough to farm ancients, you go down a side lane, and then you go to the double ancient area, and you farm both of that. And then that pattern will probably take you through 90% of the game. And yes, you are farther away from fights, but fights should be coming more to the side lanes naturally because that's where you're farming. So.
It's also made me just want to. I think we saw this reflected like in really early programs on the patch. Just buy bots like all the time.
Yeah.
Just like all the time. It feels like I want to buy bots on whatever hero I'm playing, just so I can get to places more efficiently. I don't know if that's still prevalent.
No, it definitely is. There is a lot more bots. I think the biggest thing is gold generation and mobility, I think, are pretty important. So all the spirits feel pretty good. I think Spirit Breaker is actually a rising hero in part because of this whole thing. Illusion heroes are really good because that's kind of like part of the gold generation I'm talking about, right? There's more gold on the map. There is and lanes to push down. So illusions are naturally better, right? Because you can farm multiple areas of the map at once. And then Alchemist, Doom, those heroes are also like anything that can generate gold, because a lot of times I feel like games get stalled out because bigger map makes it harder to close out the game. So.
Especially in a lower bracket, which is why I was finding success just like playing really late game heroes. Anti-Mage didn't feel good to me the couple times I tried it, but basically everything else that was late game or late game adjacent felt great. I haven't gotten to play Medusa after the change, so I'm a little ignorant on that, but
Deuce is still good. I think you're more reliant on the team chemistry than just being an OP hero from before.
That's rough in my game sometimes.
Like if I see somebody who wants to play Deuce on my team, I like snap pick up Pugna because I'm just like, okay, I'm going to life drain you and I'm going to give you mana. And so effective HP, when I life drain you, it is 3 times more effective when I do it on a Dusa than it is any other hero in the game because I'm feeding you mana and that mana turns into the mana shield, which, you know, because the damage formula of how that works is going to be massively more effective. So stuff like that. I mean, that hero is essentially still the same OP hero she was at a certain point. She's just much weaker early on.
What's your take on Universal Heroes?
Well, they changed the damage formula in 733C, so Universal Heroes is all the rage right now. Everyone's trying to pick a Universal hero. That'll probably tame down. I think maybe some people have dug a little too deep into the Universal hero pool and been like, well, this is Universal hero. It must be good. Stop picking Venge. That hero's dog shit. I don't know if it's a Universal hero. In fact, I just all of a sudden it's stuck in my head. I hate that hero so much. I love that hero and I hate that hero because she's so dog shit.
Is Venge Universal?
Probably not. She's probably agility. But I think Mag Carry is a big thing right now. A lot of people are playing Wind Ranger. Those are the 2, I would say, biggest Universal hero buffs that are like pretty clear, right? They do right click damage. Now Magnus does right-click damage. I guess there weren't too many people who were really building it as a right-clicker with the Empower build before, but now when he's Universal, a lot of people are experimenting with this, right? Because he's getting more damage, and then his damage is amped up by Empower, right? So if you have some sort of damage steroid on a Universal hero, it's going to feel really good. Wind Ranger, essentially Focus Fire is a damage steroid, right? If you're doing more damage, then max attack speed is even more effective.
Did they fix Ricky?
Did they fix Ricky? Was Ricky broken at the start of the patch? I actually don't remember.
I think both there was like literally a bug to where he was broken, but I remember it being really tormenty. People playing it like pause 1, pause 2, and it being kind of oppressive. Like Ricky and PL were the heroes that really stuck out to me early as like strong winners.
Yeah, Phantom Lancer is still pretty decent. Diffusal Blade is just a really big resource management is another theme of this patch, right? I said, what was it? Gold generation, mobility, resource management, right? Bigger map means it feels a lot worse to go back. So a lot of these things, like the flowers, are actually really important in lane. And you actively now see high-level games. They will fight over the flowers, 100%. Both supports are going over there. The cores are like, I'm going to help out too, because that resource management is very important. That's why Pugna is also super effective right now. It can give you that top off of heal and mana that you need to be able to stay out on the map instead of going all the way back home. Because if you don't have a boots of travel, that trip is going to feel real bad most of the time. Because you want to stay on the map as much as possible, right? Mm-hmm. There's never a time where it's like, well, I farmed everything on the map and there's 20 seconds to go until creeps respawn. That never happens now.
It's impossible.
You have 5 heroes farming 5 different parts of the map and you probably will not run out of camps to hit or waves to hit. So, yeah.
I had a couple really successful games playing Troll, which I think I kind of want to play around a little bit more with.
I don't know about that one, Chief, but you do you. Follow your dreams.
My dreams are oftentimes both memes. What heroes have you been sticking to? What's the advice for anybody who wants to jump in right now?
If you're playing support, play Techies and Pugna. Techies is super strong right now. That hero, I'm having so much fun playing him. Just in general, because I think his there's a number of things. First of all, they gave him a stun, right? Now like that's the massive thing. Blast F now stuns automatically instead of needing the shard for it. I think that his mines are a bit more useful when it comes to certain objectives the portal most specifically, right? You could plan a triple mine on the portal. They portal in, they get hit by triple mines. It really sucks for them. So you control portals a little bit better. So he's very good at controlling Roshan, which is very nice. I think his damage is probably overtuned because not just his magic damage, but also his right-click damage, because he is a universal hero. So he was already, I think, people underrated how much damage he could do in right-clicks because he outranges you. So he's just hitting you nonstop in lane. Now with the damage formula, that gets buffed up even more. When, like you start talking about level 5, 6, 7, like that's where you can actually feel that difference. And I think also Taser is pretty effective against a lot of the carries that are being run right now. These a lot of heroes are affected by this disarm. And I think in general, it was an unexplored hero. So now that you have a stun on blast off, it gives the people a lot more incentive to play it. And I think we're finding that like, oh yeah, this hero's actually kind of broken now. So all good things there. Pugna, we already talked about him.
What about
if you want to play a core, Joey, you could play this one. In fact, I think it's actually right up your alley. It's not quite Chaos Knight, but it's another strength hero.
I do
Omni
play
Knight.
those.
Try Omni Knight carry.
Omni Knight carry.
Yes.
Do you play like an Abaddon carry?
No.
No?
You play it as a burst hero, kind of like Chaos Knight in that regard. You don't have illusions, but you do burst people down. Because his new damage formula for his Hammer of Purity, the pure damage is so insane because you get this level 10 talent where you get plus 50 base damage. You're doing, you're spamming a pure damage nuke constantly in lane that is doing like starting out like 100 pure damage and quickly going up to 300. And then later on you get the shard, which gives you a Hammer of Purity on your auto attack every 6 seconds. So now you can hit them once with a Hammer of Purity doing 350 pure damage, and then hit them with a melee attack that does Hammer of Purity for another 350 pure damage. Okay, so all of a sudden you've done 700 pure damage burst, right? You combine that with a Harpoon, which is Echo Saber, so that's even more burst damage, right? Now you're getting the Hammer of Purity plus an extra auto attack on top of that. You're also being able to stick on top of them. You add in the extra strength that you're getting off of your W. You get talents that buff up your thing. Not only the 50 base damage, but the level 20 buffs Hammer of Purity's damage, I believe. And there's another one. I don't remember what it is, but there's another one that buffs it up as well. So this hero, I'm playing like Timbersaw. I'm getting destroyed by Omni Knight. Thinking strength versus strength hero, no problem. This guy is taking away 75% of my health in one blink-in double Hammer of Purity hit and a purification on top of that. Don't forget purification is pure damage too. So you're easily able to jump on top of somebody and do like 1,000 plus pure damage with nothing more than just like blink Harpoon.
That'll kill a lot of supports.
You start getting like a heart. Okay, now you're amping up your damage even more, right? Now you're amping up your base damage, which is amping up your Hammer of Purity damage, and it's just it's doing way too much. It's way too cheap, way too much damage. I actually kind of hate it right now, but it's also it feels really good when you're playing it.
If I click safe lane with Omni Knight, everybody's going to think I'm just playing support.
Yeah, I mean, play it offlane then. Play it offlane and then play it like a carry. There's very little difference between the side lanes in general, so...
It's true. Okay, so I should fuck around with Omni Knight. I know that people. I said Abaddon, and I know that people have been playing it. Have people been playing that as a core?
Yes. It doesn't feel as good to me.
More tank, less burst.
Core.
Yeah.
I actually feel like maybe it's more of a support. Part of this is just the general barrier change that has made Abaddon more successful. He's also really good with the Tranquil's drums, upgraded bongo boots build. That item feels really good. I mean, the support items to get right now are Pavis, the drum boots, and more people are going Medallion. I don't know if that is going to keep staying a thing. And then your offlaner will get like Crimson Guard usually, because Crimson Guard still is kind of busted. I don't know why they didn't change the formula on that, but it's straight up busted. And then, obviously, if it's a Crimson Guard game or if it's a pipe game, maybe Guardian Greaves. And you get these team fight items, and I don't know, certain changes. I feel like there's a lot more HP on heroes, so you can easily see supports with over 2,000 HP. You easily see cores with over 3,000 or 4,000 HP. So it makes these aura items more effective as well.
Can you humor me with a couple more, because at this point I'm just curious from my own learning.
Sure.
I'm actually just pulling up the stats to see what heroes are performing like really well right now, and also like number of matches played. And we're seeing not only a fuck ton of matches, but also an absurdly high win rate on Silencer, which I've seen in a bunch of competitive games too. What's the story right now for people who don't know why Silencer is succeeding? How is he being played?
I don't really know.
You don't really know.
I've run into it enough times. I haven't actually played it myself. I mean, this hero got buffed up in previous patches with like, I think the curse does more creep damage. You do instant damage when you hit curse. There was some damage scaling going up there. The curse plus last word combo does do a lot of damage, but what I don't know is that these were all things that were already kind of happening. I don't know why he's more successful in this patch as opposed to the previous patch. That is the part that I don't really understand. So I couldn't really tell you. Maybe it has to do with itemization. Not sure.
Is it like a talent or a shard, or what is applying last word on global? I think that I've seen a lot of people, myself included, like tick down unsuspectedly to getting like bonus dot damage from Silencer that I wasn't expecting.
Oh, and is that a shard?
It might be. I mean, I can pull it up right here. I'm gonna look at that while you tell me why Darkseer is like the second highest. Right now.
I think, for example, Ancient Apparition is pretty decent, in part because of that, right? Because his new shard gives you an additional stun, which is really, really nice. So it's possible that something like that actually adds enough quality to that hero. No, the shard and Ags are the same. The shard is the right-click one where every 4 attacks you get a silence, which is pretty much meaningless until you get into like super late game territory. And the last word is still the AoE ability.
The AoE one on Ags, yeah.
Yeah, so are you sure you were...
Maybe. I mean, I could just be talking on my ass. I felt like I was dying. I was getting extra dots on me that I just wasn't expecting. And it was becoming problematic. And the hero was just like annoying. So maybe there's like some bonus juice to that hero because people in the lower bracket are just being confused by it. That's my best guess at the moment. Darkseer seems to be doing pretty well. Have you played any Darkseer?
Yeah, so any hero that is able to... Batrider's another good example of this. Any hero that is able to build Arcane Boots Vanguard. These two items are incredibly good because they're naturally they're feel-good items, right? You get a Vanguard in lane, you're like, I'm invincible. You get Arcane Boots, I'm able to spam my spells all the time. This is fantastic. The part that makes them broken together is that they are feel-good early items, but they do not necessarily scale into the late game. What you're able to do, though, is they're both disassembleable. So you could disassemble your Vanguard and disassemble your Arcane Boots, and you already have a significant portion of an Octarine. So any hero that uses Octarine and then takes any sort of advantage of Arcane Boots and Vanguard. So like, Batrider, you wouldn't necessarily think as a Vanguard hero, but it's actually pretty good.
That tracks.
And so you're able to do that. You make an Octarine. All of a sudden, you're able to farm even faster. That's what Octarine does for these heroes. Doom, Batrider, Darkseer, right? They complete their Octarine. They farm even faster. Then you're able to, go back and get Crimson Guard, Boots of Travel, Guardian Greaves, like whatever it is your team needs from there. It is a slower build up, and I think it is punishable. But again, especially in pubs, I think games are there's more room for you to farm than ever before. So you can kind of do this greedy idea. I mean, one of the most successful pro heroes in the patch right now is Doom, who every single time is building Handamitis Octarine Boots of Travel, which is the greediest build known to man. It's the Merlini build. On God, every game, Merlini builds Boots of Travel, and he likes building the Handamitis, and I bet he's a big fan of Octarine. All of a sudden, you put all of those 3 items on one hero. It's the greediest thing you've ever seen in your life, and yet it works every single time. So,
specifically on Doom, because the bonus income probably helps.
Yeah, exactly. Octarine gives you
CDR
lower cooldown on Devour as well, so it you really start amping up, and then you get into your big team fight items very quickly.
I played a game of Jakiro support. It felt really good. I have a sample size of 1, but
okay. I mean, Ice Path lasts longer than it used to. That's all I really know about that hero. I can't imagine that hero is actually good, but
okay. We'll see if it gets more support play. The one I think that confuses me is Clinks, because we saw Clinks start out the patch and have like the lowest win rate of any hero ever, probably because no one knew how the changes worked or playing it wrong. Yes. But then we saw Clinks come up and get played as like a 1-2, and then we saw Clinks come and get played by like a lot of position 4s at the major. So like, can you just let me, what is the Clinks story, and how do you either play it now or be scared of it now or work with it?
Clinks 100% had a win rate problem because nobody knew how to play him. People were thinking he was a core. People were buying like the shard because that's how, like, okay, maybe I tar bomb and I have the shard and I burning barrage them, because that's how your conception of old Clinks works. But you got to get with the times. It's a new world out there, Joey. It's a new Clinks. He's a new man, and he's a 4 position. It is Crit's dream. The wettest dream he's ever had has been Clinks being a viable support hero, and we're finally here. So the build is that you go, you max out Tar Bomb. And
what does Tar Bomb do?
Tar Bomb, you're able to spam it on people. It basically it slows him down and lets your attacks and your skeleton's attacks do extra damage. So that part, that's okay. You don't get the extra skeletons until you have your level 6. Mm-hmm. So, there is some loss factor there. But essentially, you kind of throw this tar bomb at them. It does a bit of damage. You right click them a bunch. You're able to do more damage than they're able to do to you because, they're sitting in the tar or whatever. This starts getting amped up more and more, right? So all of a sudden, they're in the tar. Oh, they're also getting blood grenaded. Oh, they're slowed down even more. So now they're taking more right clicks than they were before. You are hard to fight back because you have Death Pact level 1 or level 2 rather. So you have some sort of self-sustain. So you're doing more damage to them, and you're able to have a heal on yourself. Okay, that's gonna feel pretty good.
Is Death Pact still generating gold?
I mean, you're killing a creep. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
That scales. So I've seen some Clinkses max that out, so they can kill hard camp creeps with it, but. Level 1, it's basically you're mostly going to kill lane creeps in that regard. But then you get strafe, then you're attacking faster. Then you get phylactery. Okay, now when you put tar bomb on them, they're also taking the phylactery damage and they're being slowed down even more. Okay, that feels nice. That feels pretty nice. Then you get solar crest. All of a sudden, your magic damage is your physical damage is really amping up with the minus armor because you put it on it, and you have your skeletons pop out. When you hit somebody, and tons of physical damage, right? All of this sounds really cute, but I still think that the thing that really makes this hero broken is how effective it is at just farming, wherever you want to farm. I farmed so many Ancients on Clinks when I've played Clinks at like level 7. Supports aren't supposed to be doing Ancients at level 7. But you can just do it because you're a ranged hero, your tar bomb helps kill them, and your tar bomb is amping up your skeleton's damage, and your skeletons just kind of hang around. So you can kill Ancients pretty well as Clinks. You also are an invis hero, so you are able to do a lot of scouting, which knowing where the enemy is really big right now because of bigger map. So Clinks and Bounty Hunter are very helpful in that regard. And Vid's heroes are also great for being able to steal wisdom runes. And what's next to the wisdom rune? Oh yeah, ancients. So Clinks can kind of just like live in that area around the, well, maybe not 7-minute mark, but like the 13-minute mark. Go farm some ancients, sit on that wisdom rune, steal it away from them. Those levels are just going to make you even stronger for farming more ancients. Next thing you know, you have an orchid, you start becoming a regular core. Your 4 position is turned into a core by like 25 minutes.
It sounds like a great hero for me who doesn't actually play support well / at all. So I can
you just want to be a core secretly.
So I can just kind of support and right click in lane, do some like wave management for 10-ish minutes, hang out with my friend, collect some runes, and then suddenly when my team's doing fuck all and I don't know how to support them at all because nothing's happening, I just go wander around and eat some creeps and kill some ancients, and then suddenly I'm just kind of like a weak core who can still maybe get in the back line.
It's also really helpful when you have, as a support, a shard that's useful. And Clinks, because he scales quite well, getting a free shard out of the Tormentor at some point in time and just getting, the Burning Barrage, that is a nice little bump as well. It's not a requirement, but I do think it's generally something you want to think about a little bit. If your support shard is good, it is not the reason you should pick it, but it's nice. I've seen plenty of games in professional games where the 2 supports have really dog shit shards, not useful at all, and that's still fine. But I do think it is a nice bonus when you have it.
That's kind of my only sticking point, I think, with the patch that made me feel kind of icky. Aside from the fact that if I'm not playing in a stack, killing a Tormentor felt impossible for a week and a half. The idea that you don't really have control where that shard's going to, and sometimes it just feels like a useless amount of gold, or like it's not really impactful anytime soon because you don't really have agency over who it's getting towards, is probably like my one little nitpick with that system.
Yeah, I do wonder if they considered having it drop a shard. And then they decided on this formula because they probably, if I had to guess, I'm going to take a wild guess here and say that like playtesting, they probably, I bet they beta tested it and they felt like playing support was really miserable. And maybe that's, part of it was where they came up with wisdom runes. I'm not entirely sure, but I bet playing support was really miserable. So they made it so that shard, instead of dropping, automatically went to the lowest net worth heroes, which I think is kind of interesting, but
if it went there but didn't get consumed, so maybe you can have a choice to swap it between one of those, or like...
No, you have to make it. You have to force it on them, because if you give it to the support, then that just becomes an object of grief, right? Because you're no longer giving... you're giving that person the choice of giving it to your core, but when your core is telling you, fuck you, suka blat, give me shard, or I grief, is it really a choice? Or are you just putting yourself in a position to be
ruin
abused,
your own game?
verbally abused? Yeah, like you have to force it on the supports, otherwise I will never get it. That's just like in a game like Dota, that's just the way it is.
Yeah, that's true. I've also liked playing Morta, and that's the end of my thoughts on the patch.
Okay, well, that hero's not great anymore.
No.
It was bugged at the start, but that bug went away, and so did Morta.
I don't know. It was fun playing a new carry.
Yeah.
Even though it's kind of boring compared to other heroes with like fun new abilities. Like your ability is like, don't take physical damage, shoot through BKB. Like big picture kind of boring.
I think Legion Commander is a decent carry right now. If you want something a little bit off the beaten path.
Yeah. I can see Legion Commander. I'm gonna play more around with Troll.
Definitely play Omni Knight.
I will play Omni Knight. I liked playing Luna, but it didn't feel very good. I thought Huskar was gonna be a little bit better than it was. I thought Razor was gonna be a little more effective than Razor was.
Are you by any chance? Are you an Arc Warden player?
No, I never learned, but I probably could be. I I know that it takes time to get there, and I probably don't have the time or the will to get there, but I'm good. I think
now is a great time to
Gen.
get into Arc Warden. Now is a great time to get into it because I think this hero is actually kind of a sleeper because it's got a broken mechanic. Also, it's less split pushy than before. So I think it's less micro intensive. Obviously, in team fights, it's still the same, but you don't have to. It's less overall taxing, right? When you don't have to be like constantly split pushing because they disincentivize that aspect by putting a penalty on it.
Yeah, you're probably feeding less Tempest doubles too if you're just kind of using it as like a farming mechanism occasionally or often on cooldown, right? Like you're injecting less gold to the other team, which is probably a good feeling.
Okay, so here's my pitch though, of why Arc Warden is a sleeper hero and why it has a broken mechanic. The broken mechanic is Magnetic Field. The new Arc Warden has two different versions of himself, and the dire version of him, or I don't know what to call him. I'm calling the dire Tempest double. I'm looking at the ability now. Like, is there an actual term for this? I should probably know this. The Tempest double is the duplicate, but like, how do you tell the difference? All right, if he's on Radiant, it's the dire version of Arc Warden, which means it's your Tempest double. If you're on Dire side, then you start off with this. Magnetic Field gives you bonus magic damage for all the range heroes inside of that bubble. You combine bonus magic damage with your Radiant bubble, which is giving you tons of attack speed, and it's giving you, the Dire one also gives you attack range. You combine attack speed with bonus magic damage on hit. You combine that with the hero that can create two versions of themselves, right? All of a sudden, 80 bonus magic damage a hit becomes, like, kind of in a way, 160, right? What if you get Manta? Okay, that's 3 more illusions, or that's 2 more illusions.
Yeah.
But no, it's actually 4 more illusions. All of a sudden, you've got 6 units, all hitting for a bonus 80 magic damage per hit. Do Roshan with that. It's free. It's so free. Get a Manta, do Roche. It'll probably easier than Ursa soloing it because you don't even have to tank it. Just let your illusions do it or your Tempest double. He can't even hit you because you're inside of the bubble. It's so much magic damage. It's intense. The hero may not be good, but this is a broken mechanic. I am certain of it.
So in order for me to try this, what I need to do is I need to figure out in a practice lobby for like an hour how to hit the buttons correctly, and then I need to play like 3 bot games to figure out the buttons correctly, and then I will take it into a public match.
It's not that much. It's 2 units. You go to unit 1, hit Manta, go to unit 2, hit Manta, and then do the control right click on whatever unit, so all your units are hitting this one thing.
Drop down a kinetic field, drop down a kinetic field.
Drop down your bubbles, yeah.
Okay. I don't understand that there's different Tempest doubles based on which side of the map you're playing.
Yeah, that part's weird. The biggest thing about that is, again, the Dire version gives you the bonus magic damage. The Flux change...
Is that based on like what team you're on or what side of the map you're on?
No, it's based off of what team you're on.
So Arc Warden plays differently based on what team you're on?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
So if you're on Dire side, your Tempest double is the Radiant version. That's how I think about it in my head. I'm not sure if they've actually given terms. I wish they would call them different things.
So, wow. Oh, okay. Today I learned that's a thing.
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
That's the first time that there's ever been like a team dependent hero. Does Arc Warden on one team have a higher win rate than the other team?
I would imagine so. Yeah, that's probably some numbers that Valve are definitely watching closely.
Yeah, like I wonder if it's objectively better to play like Radiant Arc Warden.
The times that I've seen in professional play have been Radiant. I don't know exactly why or if that is even a factor. Maybe they just decided to pick it up because so the Spark Wraith and Flux are different, but I'm not even necessarily sure if those changes are nearly as impactful as the Magnetic Field change. I feel like the magnetic field is way more impactful than whatever the faster spark wraith or the flux that does more damage but slows you less. Like I'm not even sure if those are really that big of a deal, but the magnetic field one is different enough that it is important.
One of my good friends is like top 300 Arc Warden spammer. I'll have to ask him questions and then figure out. I'll find out.
There you go.
He's plays for like 1,000 games. Okay, well, on that note, I am 10 minutes late for a meeting that I have to go to. We're recording this podcast in the middle of the day. So I'm going to wrap it there and say we'll be back next week. If I finish Zelda, play more Dota games and continue some of these conversations. But I mean, I might just play a little more Zelda. When you're staying in LA, at least until Bali, eh?
Until Sweden. Dream League.
Dream League, which is like in 3 weeks, 2 weeks?
Yeah, 3 weeks probably.
Man, you're gonna get that Delta. You're gonna be platinum by the end of the year, buddy.
We'll see. If I can get Delta flights all the time.
Yeah, please. Got mine to Japan. It was great. Anywho, see y'all the next week. No more 5-week break. Sorry about that. Bye.